What if voters had the power to have the last say on important policies? Like, how different do you think that the world would be if we had that much clout? Now, of course, this would rely on the majority of voters, but you could see how this could change so much of our world, right? Well, this is exactly what is happening over in Los Angeles when it comes to the homeless crisis.
California is important because so much of what happens in California spreads to the rest of the country. Los Angeles voters are going to get to decide soon about a new way to eliminate the homeless problem in that city. Simple, just put all the homeless folks in hotels. And here's a new ad that explains the proposal.
Los Angeles Hotel Workers Union, Unite Here Local 11, wants to turn hotels into homeless shelters.
Special change.
The union's idea would force hotels to provide rooms to the homeless, putting tourists and paying guests at risk, and exposing hotel employees to hazardous situations.
Hungry?
It would be funny if it wasn't so scary.
Now, before we even begin, we have to understand that these are people who made choices in their lives, and yes, it is definitely sad, but these are choices that they made on their own, which begs the question, should vacant hotels in LA give them rooms? By the math, an average night in LA would have at least 60,000 homeless people roaming their streets. Within the same night, there's at least 20,000 vacant hotel rooms. Voters in Los Angeles will have the chance to vote for this in 2024, basically deciding the fate of thousands of people. But is this really a solution? Like, seriously?
It's insane. It isn't going to solve the problem.
We think this is one part of the solution. By no means do we think this solves the homelessness crisis. But do hotels have a role to play? Of course they do.
So the union he leads, which reps hotel workers, gathered enough signatures and Angelenos will vote on a bill that would force every hotel in town to report vacancies at 2 p.m. every day, then welcome homeless people into those vacant rooms.
Honestly, would you check into a hotel knowing that the chance of your neighbor to the left or right is a homeless individual?
Manoj Patel voluntarily rents some rooms to homeless people who are vetted and paid for by a local church, but he's against this bill that would make that mandatory.
We barely are surviving, number one. Number two, we have to think of the safety of our staff. And number three, we're not professionally or any otherwise equipped with any of the supporting mechanism that the homeless guest would require.
Their mayor must be desperate, because if this passes, okay, I'm going with the idea of it actually passing, but if it passes, how much do you think a hotel room would cost in LA? $5? Maybe a half-eaten burrito from a Taco Bell? A high five maybe? How cool would it be to be able to reserve a room at like the Chateau Marmont for like a high five? Because that's what this is going to lead to. It's going to literally absolutely destroy the value of these hotels. But within the same idea, like, do any of you think that this is something that should be done on a national scale? Now, I'm talking about giving voters a louder voice, all right? So hear me out. Like, if the government proposed to send billions and billions of dollars of our taxpayer money overseas, we'd have a say. Now, just imagine that, right? Too bad we don't have that much power. But I tell you what, if you agree that these big time decisions should have some of our input as well, go ahead and smash the like button for the video. And also, while you're at it, make sure to subscribe for updates like this, all right? Awesome. Now back to the video, right? Now, homelessness isn't just an issue that's in LA. It is an issue that we're seeing all over. In fact, Mark Benioff, CEO and co-founder of Salesforce, had to say that their upcoming conference in San Francisco may be the last over there because they're worried that incidents may happen connected to, again, the homeless situation together with drug use. San Francisco hasn't particularly been a haven for big businesses. I mean, plenty of them have already packed up and moved to different parts of the country. So, hearing this, well, I'm sure that the local government is more than worried of how this will affect not just their revenue, but their commercial real estate in the area as a whole. And on top of that, did you know that the housing market is starting to feel just a little chilly? Not chilly as in spicy, okay? Chilly as in cooling. Some economists are saying that this could be the start of even more drops in prices. And this is something that we all have to consider. Interest rates are pretty much spoiling the party. They're at what, 7% and rising?
Above 7%, low inventory and rising prices. Just this week, pending home sales are down 14%. Now that's a 14% decline from a year ago. Joining us now, we want to bring in Glenn Kelman. He's the CEO of Redfin. So Glenn, the big question is here is, what is this cooling effect? How big of a cooling effect is this going to have on the housing market? What do you think?
Well, rates have been high all year. They peaked in August. They seem to be easing slightly now. So I don't think sales volume could go any lower. And prices are actually headed up because inventory is down. So I think the market is in a holding pattern, waiting for a break from the Federal Reserve.
And this is for people with darn good credit. How much more are these people with average and below average credit getting? They might be paying 8, 9% for a mortgage, right? I mean, it is insanity out there right now. And on the topic of insanity, employers are now reversing on the trend of providing pay increases for new hires. And what are they doing now? They're now cutting salary offers. Wow. Like jumping from job to job has its ups and downs. You know what I'm saying, right? One of the ups is that you usually get a huge pay bump with your wages, much bigger compared to what you would have gotten from a promotion within the same company. So much for loyalty, huh? But a recent study now shows that some employers are cutting their offers by at least 47%. Can you imagine how huge of a difference that is? Now, this reminds me, have you noticed how frequently we've received job and payroll numbers that sound just a little bit too good to be true, only to later have them revised lower a few months after? Because that has not left my mind for a while now. Like payroll numbers for this entire year, up until July, has been revised down. And they're doing it so stealthily, like, it's like trying to hide that these revisions are happening. I dare you. You are not going to find one clip where you actually see Karine Jean-Pierre, Janet Yellen, and heck, even President Joe Biden. You're just not going to see a clip when they're talking about revisions that trend downward. It's all talk about how great they are, right? So great, sky is just blue, grass is green, and Americans are doing just oh so freaking fantastic. But let me ask you, do you agree with them? Now, here's something that should prove the point that things aren't so great. In fact, the first clip that I'm going to show you guys was released weeks ago, all right?
Michael Downing is also happy with the dollar store. We met him checking out eggs.
Look at the price.
Yes, absolutely.
$1.50?
A dozen. It's unbelievable. I mean, that is probably a third of what most other stores charge for them.
No question, a quick comparison shows eggs are cheaper here than the area's grocery stores, which are all a significant drive away. The closest is a 30-minute round trip. Downing has a good job with a top company, but says he feels no stigma shopping in the discount store. In fact, a recent report suggests discount stores appeal to an ever-widening group of Americans. Households with six-figure incomes are 15% more likely to shop at a dollar store this year than they were a year ago.
Now, you would think that stores like Dollar General would have a positive outlook with this news, right? But just recently, they saw their shares in the stock market plummet after they cut their outlook for this year, as they're seeing customers just pulling back on purchases. I mean, like, do you see the writing on the wall with this one? Within just a few weeks, they had to say, oh, shoot, things are actually getting really bad out here, that we're probably going to end up losing revenue. And that's because Americans, households all over the country are holding on to their money for dear life. And the same fate could be actually said for the Dollar Tree, as they're also seeing their shares dip down. Like, who do you believe more in this situation? I'd really like to know, because the narrative is very, very clear. It's just not that clear for our wallets. You know what I'm saying? Now, before I go, just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. And I'm going to catch you guys on the next one.